quite a surreal experience being next to like DJ deck giving a talk, but here we go. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's the last event of the day, so well done for sticking it out. Seeing as there's not that many of us as well, I think we can do it more kind of interactive. If anyone does have any specific questions as we go through, just fling them out. So, just a little bit about me. So I am the head of talent at Encode Club. So my main responsibility is supporting all of the community of Encode Club that have done our hackathons, our education series like these, and our boot camps, helping them all get jobs in Web3. So we're very lucky to be partnered with some of the biggest, best, and smallest protocols out there to support people getting jobs. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about how you can go about that. I'm going to kind of start at the very basics and work up quite quickly. So for some of you who have been job seeking in the past and know how to do everything, it might be a bit boring, but hopefully I can give you some tips on, you know, things that you might not have heard of before. So, a little bit about Encode. I'm going to scoot over this very quickly because I think a lot of Encode people have actually spoken today, so they've probably all told you. So yeah, fundamentally we're an education community, and as I said, we support people in recruitment and in investment. So either finding their first, second job in Web3, third job, however long you've been doing it for, or going off and starting your own company. What we're going to cover. So what we're going to talk about is most of the talk is going to be about building profiles. So like how you can best prepare LinkedIn, CVs, GitHubs, as those are the profiles that most people are going to be looking at. And we're going to talk a bit about how to actually go about finding job opportunities, because Web3 can be a bit of a minefield compared to Web2. I don't know if anyone's noticed that, but there's not, you know, the specific go-tos like in Web2. So we're going to talk about that, and then a bit about application tracking and goal setting and how you can kind of build your aim and your North Star and build small goals and track them to get to where you want. So it's quite a lot to cover, so I'm going to try and speed up a bit. So first things first, what options are out there? What might be suitable for the skills that you already have, and how can you go about gaining some more skills in order to get to where you want to be? So the first thing to think about is what kind of options are available in the space. So we have obviously the non-technical and technical options. Most of them are pretty obvious, the same as like Web2, a few differences. So you have your developer roles, front-end, back-end, full stack, your Solidity, your Rust roles, protocol engineers, product managers, QAs, like, you know, everything that you would find in Web2. So nothing to be overly frightened of. And then in terms of the non-technical, we're seeing more and more, this has been a kind of repetitive thought, I think, of today. There's more and more non-technical opportunities now available in Web3 as well. So like those marketing manager roles, community roles, BD, you know, so many options. And there's a huge demand, which is amazing. So if you are thinking about making that jump, it's a really good time to do it. So the first thought is about what kind of fits with the skills that you already have. It's really important to think about what you already have when you're thinking about job searching. So, for example, we work with a lot of people who maybe don't have like traditional education for computer science or like maths or physics, whatever it might be. So what we have to do is very much focus on the like other skills that people have gained and how that might be relevant, because you can still bring a lot of value, and I think people forget that. Like, for example, you know, we have full stack developers who have been learning Solidity for like a few months and they're now like ready to jump in. They kind of forget that they have been full stack developers for 10 years already and really heavily focus on the fact that they're not like absolute superstars at Solidity, but companies are looking for people who can jump straight in and like, you know, build straight away. So they're actually bringing a lot of value. It's also really important to remember like the soft skills side of things and make sure you really show that off. And then finally, the commitment side of things. Like if you don't have all of the experience that people are looking for, then well, what all of the protocols are asking me is like examples of people's commitments to the space and the ecosystem. Like, are they going to hackathons? Are they building projects? It's kind of something that's repeated over and over again. And most people don't really get interviews if you're not, fully invested in the space. So I say to anybody who's thinking about kind of getting into Web3, like, start building something. Like, it can be anything, but just get into it straight away. There's no harm in giving it a go. But if you, like, for me as a recruiter, one of the first things that I do is go and look at someone's GitHub and see if they're actually doing anything. I know that not everything is like open source, but there should be at least like something that you can find out there, which is an example of someone's work and someone's like enthusiasm for the space. Yeah, here we go. And then how can you gain more skills? So there's a lot of options out there for kind of dipping into the space. So like short courses on Coursera, Udemy, like there's so many out there. Shamelessly, I've put Encode up there for boot camps, but there's a lot of other options available for like longer term learning, and loads of them are free, which is amazing, which is it's like much less common in Web 2. So Web 3 is really nailing the education piece at the moment in terms of giving people free training. And then there's like fun learning, like crypto zombies and all these other fun, if you want to make it a bit more fun. So scooting very quickly to building profiles. I focused on CVs, LinkedIn, and GitHub for this, but obviously there's other profiles that you should 100% be using, like Twitter. But for time's sake, I'm just going to cover these three. And LinkedIn, there's a few like tricks that are transferable to Twitter as well. So when you're thinking about building a CV, I think one of the easiest things to do is go off and find a template just to get the cogs moving. So I always use Canva because it's like a free option. There's literally millions of example CVs and templates on it. So you can go through, scroll through, find something that resonates with you in terms of like color, formatting, what information you want to fit into it. So that's where I would definitely begin. And then what we're going to do is pick these 7 sections. Not all of them are compulsory, but this is just where I like to start. So contact details, like everything you've learned before, you're going to have your name, your email address. Don't necessarily have to have your name if you're anonymous, but some kind of way of contacting you, which people seem to forget sometimes. Even though you're anonymous, you still need to let people contact you in some fashion. So contact details also include in there your LinkedIn and your GitHub. Like as I said, people will want to ping out from there. Recruiters are always really nosy. I think people don't realize that as well. Like we're always like looking, trying to nose around, work out what people are up to. So make sure you include that. After that, you're going to have your personal summary. So not everyone includes this on your CV, but I personally really like it. Just because it gives a good overview of you as a person. So in this section, how I advise people to start thinking about it is split into 3 sentences, so something really, really short. So how you might want to structure it is just have 1 sentence about your kind of like past experience, 1 sentence about what you're doing now, and 1 about the future, so like what you're looking to achieve moving forward. It's just really, really key. I heard a really terrifying stat about CVs that most people only spend around 15 seconds actually looking at your CV. So this is really going to be at the top, and this is where you're going to want to capture people's attention and drop in all of those like keywords and terms that you want them to notice. Next will be your work experience. With these sections, okay, apart from the top 2, I think most of them are interchangeable. So it's really up to you as to which one you prioritize the most. So if if you've not spent very much time in education, then you probably won't want to put that right at the top. But if you've spent a lot of time going to hackathons, working on projects, and feel like it's more relevant to what you're doing, then I'd very much advise like popping that straight to top. So you'll have work experience. Work experience will just be an overview of your job role, like what you achieved within that role. So for this section, I usually use the interview technique, like, the STAR method, so situation, task, action, result. It's just a really easy way to structure your thoughts. And, when you start the work experience section, I actually think it's probably the hardest part. So what I tend to advise is actually just get a blank page and start bullet pointing these things down. So examples of when you've been given, a task, or you've created a task, and then you go about making a plan and actioning it in order to achieve a result. In this section, it's also really key to include some kind of quantitative data, or something that's tangible, so people can see a change over time. Next, education doesn't really mean that much in Web3 if you're building some amazing stuff, so don't get too hung up on it, but obviously include it if you're PhD. Then projects, obviously absolutely key. Technical skills. Just listing your technical skills is really useful for people that are looking to see what you've been up to. One small piece of advice, I tend to not include sometimes you see people put stars by their technical skills, or they kind of rate their own skills. I usually advise against this. I know some people love it, some people hate it, but my kind of personal view is it's quite arbitrary and objective. You don't really... who's to say if you're a 10 out of 10 Solidity developer, or you're a 1 star, and it just builds this unnecessary comparison between the two, in my opinion. So, my advice, just list them so they're there and people know what you've been up to. And then finally, interests. I personally really like this just because it gives a bit more of a flavor about you as a character, what you're interested in, what do you do when you're not, being awesome in crypto. And then, I haven't included anything about photo because that's incredibly, up to you. So top tips. One page, make sure you add your keywords so it stands out. It's really obvious what you've been doing, what you're looking for. Make sure you save it as a PDF as your name and resume or CV or whatever you want to save it. I have so many people that send me CVs and just save it as CV, and then I've just got loads of CVs in my kind of documents, and I'm like, meh. So really make sure you do that. It's one of my pet peeves. Don't quantify your skill levels. Make sure you include all of your Web3 projects. Really show off. Try not to be too modest. If you're absolutely smashing it, going to loads of hackathons, winning everything, just chuck it all in there. Wow, it's really getting vibey in here. Right, and then finally, obviously, double check spelling, formatting. I know that we're all adults here, but just going to tell you, people do it all the time. Cool, next, building a LinkedIn from scratch. Does anyone have any questions about CVs? No. Oh, yes.
Quantifiable skills, you've just mentioned it briefly. Could you say a little bit more about that, please?
Wait, which bit? So
go back to the slide.
Oh, sorry, wait, where am I going back to? This one?
Don't quantify skill level.
Oh, sorry, I don't know if you missed that. So basically, what I was saying is when you list your skills, so your technical skills, so for example, saying JavaScript, Python, Solidity, whatever, and then whatever frameworks you use, my advice is don't kind of quantify them. So say I'm 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 for each of the skills, because there's a few reasons why. There's an expectation when you get to interview. You might not get to interview because you've quantified yourself in a negative way, or it just sets an expectation that I think is slightly unnecessary. But again, that's my opinion. Other people feel differently about that. So up to you. Yeah.
Immediately one more. So if there are no Web3 projects to talk about, if there are no Web3 projects that I could include in my CV, what would you recommend to do?
Wait, sorry. So you're saying, would you include Web3 projects in your CV?
If I haven't worked on any,
Wait, is that microphone on? Am I deaf? I can't really hear.
You can't hear me?
No, not quite. Wait, try again.
It sounds really... perhaps because I've got speakers just in front of me. So yes, I was... the question was, if I haven't worked on any Web3 projects, to make the CV stronger, would you suggest to do anything?
My suggestion is always like get as stuck in as possible. So if you can work on anything, I know it's kind of like easier said than done for some people. Like if you're a product manager, like maybe go to a hackathon and be a PM for a hackathon team and then write about that. Or, I do think it is important to show that you're interested in an industry when you're thinking about applying for it. So I would try and do some kind of project if you're thinking about getting a job.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Fabulous. Okay, we've only got 15 minutes, so I'm going to scoot through pretty quickly. Okay, so LinkedIn is pretty much same. Name, title, about, experience, education, the little bits that are different. You have the opportunity to add in skills in your LinkedIn. So this would be your like technical skills, soft skills, any skills that you've picked up throughout time. People don't realize this, but I think this is one of the most important bits because for recruiters and anyone who's like searching for profiles online, this actually makes you much more likely to be found because recruiters will go onto their, like ultra recruitment LinkedIn and search the skills that they require for the role. And if you have these listed, you're more likely to come up in those searches. Put your skills in, try and get people to endorse you as well, just because then you don't look like some con artist, which seems to be quite a thing at the moment in Web3, that people are kind of making like almost fake profiles and then applying for like 10 jobs, getting them like turning up for a month and taking like 10 months salary, which is quite nuts. So if you actually can get people to endorse you, it shows that you're a real human. Then certifications, like anything that you've worked on. So this is also something that can make you at least show that you're interested in what you're doing. You're going out seeking knowledge, trying to upskill. And then again, kind of similar thought to skills, recommendations. Like if you can get any of your previous employers to write you a nice little recommendation, again, it just shows that you're a great person who, everyone wants to employ. So top tips. Shorten your LinkedIn URL. It's like a little trick that nobody really thinks of. When you build your LinkedIn, they give you a really horrible, 1, 2, 3 million numbers, and then your name in some weird order. There's actually a feature where you can go into settings and change that. So then it just looks a bit niche in your CV if you're not hyperlinking, et cetera, when you're sending it, stuff like that. Set yourself to open to opportunities. There's now the feature on LinkedIn. When you say that you're open to opportunities, it means you're more likely to come up in a search again. So when you're trying to break into a market, you want to make sure that you're, as searchable as possible. Make sure you keep updating your skills section with all of your new amazing skills as you carry on upskilling. And then the big one is that engaging on the thread. So this is kind of similar to Twitter in the terms of making sure you're posting about your experiences, anything that you've worked on. As you build a network, you will also engage your second and third connections. So people are more likely to see what you're up to. I've seen this a lot, people getting jobs through this. So maybe writing a Medium article about something they're working on, or posting a demo of a project, and then somebody's connection of a connection sees it, asks them to interview, they get a job. So I'd highly recommend doing this, just making sure you're engaged on LinkedIn, Twitter, building a network, making friends, you know the drill. I'm going to scoot over GitHub quite quickly as well. How long do we have? 10 minutes. Top tips for GitHub. So commit to committing is probably the first one. So everyone likes to go on someone's GitHub and see that they're, always doing something, effectively having a nice like green block in front of them. Add a bio. So, describe yourself. You can be creative in this as well. People are coming up with like quite cool designs for this. So if you are a designer, you can make that quite creative. But make sure you're just, describing yourself, maybe linking out to other platforms. Adding readmes for each project is also really nice. So maybe less technical people can actually understand what you've been up to. Pin your top projects to the top of your profile. I think it's not that new. It's like a year or so old. But that's also great because you're basically then showcasing the projects that you're most proud of, like pop them at the top so everyone can see them, and it kind of directs people directly to them. And then just go through and add some comments and descriptions. So those are some little top tips. Great. So next, we're going to talk about finding job roles. So the kind of 4 ways that I kind of would go about doing this is looking, why have I put job roles? We'll get, like using sites, socials, company websites, and recruiters as well. So some job boards that you might want to have a look at. So there's so many. Cryptocurrency jobs have loads. Angel List is quite a nice place to find them if you're looking for something smaller, like more startup. TopTool is apparently very good for freelancing. It's not my expertise, freelancing, but I've heard a lot of people getting some decent jobs with TopTool. I don't know if people have heard of it. It's like a freelancing platform, so you can go on and like kind of build a profile and find freelancing roles, and then you kind of like bid for them. And then Hired. So there's a few different versions of this popping up. It's like, again, some way that you'd build a profile and then companies can come to find you rather than you having to go and find them. With job searching, I always say that you have to be super active, so don't actually rely on anything passive. So don't rely on anyone coming to you and asking you to have a job. You need to kind of go out and actively find roles. So my advice would also always be like set alerts up on job boards. Make sure you know when new jobs are coming in. You're much more likely to get a job when a job is newly posted than when it's been like stagnant for like a month or 2. So make sure you set those job alerts and you get to the jobs as quickly as possible. Excuse me. So socials, Twitter, LinkedIn, Discord, Telegram. There's so many job boards on Telegram and Discord now. So just find something that works for you, something that is posting relevant roles, and keep engaged, like keep active, like keep checking over and over again. It never works if you like check once a week. You need to kind of make sure that you have almost like a routine, like you get up, check each of these different kind of sources of jobs. And then company websites. So not everyone actually markets their jobs on job boards. So you might want to actually directly check company websites. So how I tend to advise people to go about this, because obviously there's like millions of companies and you don't really know where to start. Try and just like do quite a broad search to start. So you might want to be like DeFi protocol in wherever, or like remote, and see what comes up, and then start building yourself a kind of mini hit list of like top companies. You can do a bit of research into them, see which ones have job boards, and then create a bit of a like bookmarked list of all the job boards. So you can again go on and check if new roles are coming in. Or you can send people messages directly and say, I'm looking for a job. When can you get in touch when something's available? And then finding a little bit of help. So obviously recruiters are actually there to support you in your job search. They know the market and know what's going on most of the time, and should be able to connect you to some good companies. And they come with a few benefits. They'll be able to help you, prep for the interviews, negotiate offers. Also, skip out some interview phases sometimes as well. So the companies or protocols will trust the recruiter that they're sending someone who is, fulfills the requirements for roles. So you might not have to do like a screening interview or something like that. So, top tips. Again, set up the daily job alerts. Search some key phrases on like literally Google, whatever search engine you use. Build hit lists of your favorite companies. So it could be like 10, it could be 20, it could be 50, really up to you. And regularly check those sites. Be sure to use your network and the community, especially in Web3. Like, it's such a big thing. Like, a lot of people don't even do this stuff to get a job, and they'll just go to an event like this, meet someone, start chatting, set up a more formal chat, and then go through the process. So definitely use networks, use community, go to events, and make sure that you're, building this idea of you. Finally, application tracking. So application tracking is just super important so you don't basically muck up and apply to the same place twice or just make a bit of a knob out of yourself. Oh, God, I shouldn't have said that. So you have to basically set up some kind of tracking so you know where you've applied. It's also really useful as you go through interview processes to know what you've said, what's been covered in each interview. So if you can do some kind of tracking of that, it will really help you. I get it quite a lot with people in the community that are like, oh, I've done 5 interviews, I can't remember what I've said to this person or this person or this one. So it's like very handy to actually track those applications. And the easy way of doing it is with this tool. I've been using this for a long time, and I think it's pretty good. So it's called Hunter. It is free for, I think, up to 30 jobs. It sounds like I work for Hunter, but I just love it so much that I always talk about it. So it's basically a super easy, you could build it yourself. It's a very, very easy Kanban board, which you download a little Chrome extension and you can directly kind of save jobs from job boards into the Kanban, into a wish list. Then you apply, and then you can go through interview phases like first one, technical, whatever it might be, write notes in each, say who you've interviewed with. And then, just keeps you organized. And also just helps when it comes to like setting those goals and actually knowing what you want to achieve. One of the biggest things with job searching is like staying motivated, I would say. Like, people can get pretty down. And it's like, if you can set yourself some nice achievable goals for like daily or weekly or monthly and track them, it just will keep you going. So it's always, you can do a little research on SMART goals. I'd highly recommend that for job searching, just because it can take some time. And if you can build yourself some achievable goals, it will really help you for sure. I think that's everything from me. Does anyone have any questions? No. Oh, Omji. Omji's running to you. It has suddenly got really dark in here.
I'm a small person. Hi, thank you so much for this. Like, some tricks I think are applicable to like usual Web 2, and then some were like, oh, this could be interesting for Web 3. So I was wondering on the differences, like maybe on the types of profiles that you see. Like, would you say that there are like specific things you should be doing if you're looking for stuff on PM, or if you're looking for a specific like dev or AI type of role, and like how would those play in crafting your story, so to say?
So, as in like how should your job search change if you're looking for different roles?
More like the presentation of yourself, because I think that's kind of what you mentioned. Mostly not the job search itself, because that's, I think, you go through different forums, but more like how do you present yourself in terms of like the projects that you showcase, and is this kind of like the same as just a regular Web 2 job, or would you say it's different for a Web 3 one?
I'd say there's a lot of like similarities. So. So how I think I've understood what you mean is, so if you're, for example, looking for a particular role, then what you want to do is kind of like manifest what that person is looking for, or, like, for example, if you're looking for like a product manager role, then you take the key skills of a product manager and then like, bring that out of your profile, or like, highlight that within what you've done in the past. And like, is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, I think I was just figuring out whether there was a difference between the usual roles on Web 2 or Web 3, but I guess it's kind of similar. Like,
there's a lot of transferable skills. Like people, that's why like we exist, for example, because we like support people to transition from Web 2 to Web 3, and there is a market for those Web 2 people who are interested in getting into Web 3 because there's not enough people to work on all the projects. So there has to be a source of talent coming from somewhere, and the skills a lot of the time are very, very, very transferable. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm just gonna pass it.
Okay. Sorry.
So what do you think are the best ways to start building experience in Web3? I know you mentioned the hackathons that you guys run, and that definitely sounds interesting. But specifically for non-technical roles, are there any other ways? Like, how could I'm a UX designer. Obviously, we spoke before, but for everyone else, how could I build a project? Maybe just the design of it that is Web3, you know, rather than coding.
Yeah, I think if you found something that you wanted to work on that was like Web3 related, so that might be like an NFT marketplace, and then like build something around that. So find a concept that you could work on that is like Web3 applicable.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. I just want to add in what he was asking, because I did that transition. So I wasn't looking for a job right now, but it's really helpful. But I came from infrastructure to Web 2 and then Web 3.
Yeah.
So what you said was coming to a UX, I think we are so early that if you go to basically 9% of the products that we have in Web 3 and you are UX design, you can do better right now. So it's something that I really, really know by experience. If you are a software developer, just take something like projects that are there, just code, because it was exactly what I did. So I built a lot of GitHub stuff. My GitHub was already there in Web 2, but Web 3 I was just populating. And then first I was hired through Twitter, then LinkedIn, and now I'm here, and if you are a back-ender developer, we are hiding. So, yeah, that's exactly how it goes. So I think we are so early, and as you said, there's a lot of space to be filled right now. You don't need to be ready. You just need to show up that you are trying to be in that place. Yeah. So either you are a UX developer, whatever it is, there's a place for basically everyone. And again, if you are a back-ender developer, come after me that we are hiding. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, no, you go. Sorry. Hi. Did you want to say something? Oh, no, you're just holding the mic. Oh, sorry.
I would just say thank you. And the comment just, I'm just doing the transitioning. It's all about networking, and I think we should talk together. So that's also one of the...
Nice. Yeah, because you can find other people to work with, which is also the best thing. And then work on something together. Find people who have different skills to bring to the table. As we were talking about it as a team, like there's a lack of designers and product managers. There's just people that want to build at hackathons. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Ran G.
Hi. I might actually ask from the other perspective because we are hiring and...
oh my gosh, here we go.
Well so one thing that we have, I mean, we're kind of an NFT launchpad here based in Berlin, and also we have an office in Ankara, and kind of our team is working internationally. But one thing is quite difficult to find, which is community managers for Discord.
Yeah.
So my question was if you kind of stumbled upon anything that you could suggest, like a, I don't know, like a moderator, community manager, what's the English word? Inserat platform.
In the what, sorry?
Pardon me?
In the, what did you say? In the what?
Like a platform where people kind of present themselves.
Okay.
Because we get a lot of people by DM, they ask us if they can join the team, but it's always very difficult in all this environment of pseudonymity to kind of decide on certain people. So more transparent, more Web2 people joining. Do you know anything like that?
So platforms to find Web2 community managers.
Discord community managers, moderators.
I don't actually know of any. Does anyone else? So we specialize more towards technical roles. I know that there's a bit of a deficit for community managers as well. Does anyone have any suggestions? Throwing it out to the crowd. Oh, here we go.
So I work at Tech3, which is, we sort of help people with hiring, and you can put a bounty on it and then use your own network and spread it around. What I mean with that is we believe that everyone is surrounded by people who like them and usually like things that are similar. So you can put a referral bonus on that and then basically tell your people, hey, I'm searching for someone with these kind of qualities. Do you know someone? And if they don't know someone, then they can share it around. And that's, I think, how you can find community managers. Because I do agree, it's super hard to find. At the moment, we're also looking for a new community manager. And what I'm doing is I'm hanging out in a bunch of Discords, searching for the right person who fits that.
So maybe, finding people who are engaged on Discord that might be marketing managers, or go and headhunt out of places that you would imagine there is a community manager already. But then they might not have the Discord experience. I think that's probably the biggest issue, is finding people from Web2 or the normal world that have experience using Discord. Has anyone else got any questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. And I know that I scooted through some of these topics really quickly. So please do get in touch, and I'm more than happy to jump on a call and actually talk about some things in a bit more detail, or things that are a bit more personal to people. So actual, people who want to actually make this move. So thank you.